Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this evening's guest moderator from Entertainment Weekly, Tom Geyer, and tonight's guests, Evan Rachel Wood and Fredrik Bond.
Thank you all for being here, first of all, and thank you, Evan and Fredrik.
Thank you.
So Fredrik, tell me a little bit, this was started out as a Blacklist script, and the famed Blacklist. So how did you come to become associated with
Does
it?
people know what Blacklist is? We
Should explain.
Sure.
It's basically a list of the best unproduced scripts that circles around Hollywood, but nobody dares to take a gamble on. So every year there's a list of there's executives making the list of the ones that they wish they had produced, but didn't dare to.
And so you had started out as a commercials director, and
Yep,
this is your
correct.
first feature film. I think the commercial of yours that I think people probably best know is it was a Heineken commercial.
Yeah, we've done a series of Heineken commercials. Yeah, that's been running here a lot.
There's a memorable one that's like 90 seconds long of this
Yep.
guy who does incredible things.
Yep.
Now, how did you come upon this as your first feature film?
You know, I read the script like 5-6 years ago, and I just was blown away by the sheer romance. The romance of it really blew me away, and the unpredictability of the story I just loved. And it kind of reminded me of, you know, movies that I grew up loving, like After Hours, True Romance, Train Spotting, and even some French movies, you know, like Diva and Lovers on a Bridge. You know, a lot of... It was a mix of a lot of feelings, you know, that I got hooked up to. But basically, but also on a personal level, it really resonated with, you know, being 21 and going on that world around the trip that I did, living in hostels and meeting incredible people and coming in unbelievable situations because you're just fresh to the world and curious and stupid, I guess, you know.
Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up in outside Stockholm, in the suburbs of Stockholm. Yeah.
So does that involve, is it the Eurail pass, or do you like come to America and do Amtrak? What's the European version of that?
My version was Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and America. So I ended up actually in Venice Beach, where I live now, and lived in hostels and had sort of Charlie's experience there.
So now, how did you come upon casting this project? Because Shia and Evan are terrific together, but not necessarily the first choices that people would necessarily think of for these roles.
You know, we had been trying. You know, Shia was also one of the first that read the script. You know, very early on. You know, he's very tuned in to what's new and what's happening in town that might be edgy. So I wouldn't be surprised if he'd read this the day after Matt finished the script. You know, somehow got hold of it. But so
this is Matt Drake who
Matt Drake, the writer. So basically, Shia attached himself then to the script and was going to do it. But out of scheduling reasons, as it normally happens, he couldn't do it anymore. And then I came on, and we had other actors was going to do it, and eventually it didn't work. And so Shia called me up one day and said, "This is the script I've been dreaming about and wanting to do for the last 5-6 years. Please let me do it." You know. So and I met him, and we had an amazing connection, and I saw his fire in the eyes. Yeah. And then instantly after we started to spitballing, you know, who's this woman? Who's this Romanian girl? And we instantly, you know, talked about Evan and wanted to meet her. And you know, there's very few actresses that had those qualities that we needed in Gabby that can play that. And Evan was perfect for it. So we met Evan like a couple of weeks later, and Evan had already almost mastered the accent. I want to say, you know, you had a bunch of coaching afterwards, but already there, it was pretty amazing. So we were both completely sold.
Now, Evan, had you ever worked with Shia before?
No, I never worked with Shia, but we've been fans of each other for a while, and you know we've both been doing this since we were kids. So we've seen each other around and been kind of in the same circuit. And I've been trying to get into his projects, he's been trying to get into mine, and it's never quite worked out. And then when I got this script, I went, oh, that's why, because we're supposed to do this one. And I'm really glad. I'm really glad that you both had me in mind for this, because it was such an amazing role to play. So.
And you came in with a Romanian accent already
Well,
nailed?
I had to come in and do a chemistry read with Shia. Basically, when you're doing this intensive a love story, you have to make sure that there is chemistry, otherwise it doesn't work. And they wanted me to come in with some sort of accent prepared so that they knew I could do it.
And you thought about the Transformers accent, the Optimus Prime accent, but you just settled on Romanian?
I thought it was more appropriate. It was a personal choice. So I came in and I did it, and I think on that day we all felt it. We all just realized there was something really interesting and different and special there. So
now there's something very unusual. This is a love story, but there's something very unusual about their introduction. Can you say a little bit about how they first meet?
Well, I love their introduction actually, because I think it was important to us to show that moment, that love at first sight moment, which some people have and some people never experience. But when it happens to you, it's like lightning. And I think that moment is in this movie where he sees this girl and she's going through exactly what he just went through. He's looking at this girl who's just lost her father after he's just lost his mother, and he sees himself in her, and there's just an instant connection.
Well, to be more specific about it.
Well, to be more specific, my father just passed away on his shoulder. He's on an airplane sitting next to him, and he goes to sleep and he doesn't wake up. And then he has this kind of, I don't know, what would you call it when he talks to my father after he's dead?
He channels.
He channels,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's a sensitive guy that can pick up things.
Yes. Somehow he gets this message from my father, and he says, you have to give this gift to my daughter that I was going to give her. And he does. He follows through.
So I think we have a clip of that moment when they first meet, and can we play that up now? That's
So
such a
sad.
sweet moment.
Yeah, it's so sad.
What I find interesting is there almost seems to be a kind of gender role reversal that goes on in this movie. That Shia's character is much more the kind of lovesick puppy dog, and you are almost the guy in the relationship, the more standoffish one.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I liked the role. She wasn't the damsel in distress. She kind of is the one that rescues him throughout the movie. She's very self-sufficient. She's been taking care of herself for a really long time, but I think she falls in love with Charlie because he's the first person in a while, I think, to show her tenderness, and he doesn't want anything from her. He wants to take care of her, and I think that's why she gives in.
Now, there's been much said about Shia as a kind of...
There's been much shit said about Shia. Yeah.
There's been much said about Shia. That is absolutely true. But as this kind of proto method actor, and what was that like working with him on a movie of this nature in particular?
It's very intense, but it's super interesting. Super, it's a really passionate endeavor. You have dark days, you have light days, you have incredibly loving days. So it's very it becomes, but I love it because it's a work of passion.
Yeah.
And you really come you really come to the bus where you're watching the rushes, and just excited about how much you see through the rushes, seeing how much he has contributed to. So, he's very tactile. He needs to feel every little thing. So it's challenging.
Yeah.
But for you?
Oh, I mean, I loved it. I appreciated it. It's rare that you get to work with a kind of actor like that, and every actor has a process. It's an emotional game. And Shia is a very emotional, sensitive person that feels a great deal, and he has his process. And his process is he wants to feel everything, he wants to experience it, he wants to get as deep into a character as he possibly can. And it is refreshing because, whether you love him or hate him, he's a great actor, and he's extremely dedicated to what he does and very focused, and he's willing to go the distance. And not a lot of people are now.
He came to set in his one pair of shoes, the pants, and the T-shirt he was going to have in the movie, and that's it. I didn't see him on the cell phone one time during the entire production.
Never.
He was Charlie Countryman. So I think we all were like, okay.
You keep you on your toes, yeah.
Now, he's talked about how to prepare for, there's an extended ecstasy trip in this film that he actually did drop acid for the film? Were you in on this, or were you aware of this? Or
Really? Did he?
Well, I wasn't there that day. I don't know what went down. But if he did anything, I think he did it because he wanted it to be as real and as truthful as possible. And Shia, this may surprise people, has never really done a lot of drugs. He's just a very intense person without them. So I think he was nervous. He was nervous. He wanted to get it right, But
we
had he done them, I don't know.
We spoke for maybe 6 months about that drug scene. That was one of the most important scenes to get right in the movie, because you see a lot of movies where it doesn't feel right and it feels like a fake. And so we talked. We spent a lot of time looking at stuff and did research, and we shared a lot of information. And the way things worked on set was that sometimes we would spend a lot of time before shooting a scene, and we'd spend an hour, 2 hours sometimes talking and preparing, and then other days, you just saw that Shia was in the zone, and you don't want to, destroy that moment because he's in there. So we turned up to set early that morning, and he'd been there maybe an hour, 2 hours before us. That was normally the case. Shia is always before everybody else on set.
That's unheard of. That's unheard of.
I don't think, did he have a trailer? I don't know. I never saw his trailer even.
He's never in it. No.
So I just saw that he was in his moment and in the zone, and I told my DP, we better shoot now, so we have, we get this now. So it became a very interesting night, but I hope you will enjoy it when you see it.
But you know what? No one was hurt in the process, and at the end of the day, there's a great performance on
exactly,
screen.
Which is the primary. Because Shia said one of our first meetings, he said, remember one thing, when we're dead, this movie's going to live.
Hey, he's right.
And it's right.
Now, did you shoot the film in Bucharest, or?
Yeah.
And what was that experience like? Had you spent much time there previously, or?
No, I came there when it was winter and was filled with snow, and we had wrecking the place, and I just felt like there was Bucharest has an incredibly interesting history, from Ceausescu's times, a city that used to look like Paris in the 40s and the 50s, very romantic and incredibly beautiful, has been quite brutalized over the years. And so I wanted to find a city that in a way, like Gabby's character actually had a strong personality and had been like I said, brutalized and been kicked at over the years. So it just felt like the right place. And plus, Charlie's character goes on a trip for the first time in his life outside of America. So it needed to. It needed
feel
to
very
be
different.
Totally different, and a place that wasn't cinematically that explored. So the audience would also have the same experience as Charlie has.
Yes, and when you're there, it's a city that's begging to be put on film. It's so gorgeous in the way that it has this beautiful grit. It's really, there's so much to it. You can just peel back the layers and keep finding things, and it's a great thing.
Plus, the other thing is that it was 30 degrees minus Celsius when we came there and wrecked the place, and then when we came to shoot, the whole city transformed, and out of the sewer systems comes a completely new population. Of Bucharest, sadly enough, has the biggest population of homeless kids, and also of people living underground. So it's a whole, including the dogs. Yeah. So out of the sewer system comes a whole new population into the streets, which was in a lot of ways sad, but also very interesting, and transformed the city a lot, for us in experiencing it. So in the movie, you will see that there's a lot of people that we came across that ended up in the movie, like the short man, the little guy, and his dog Jumbo, Marcel, and his dog Jumbo, who used to be the most successful pimp in the 90s in Bucharest. He had a huge stab of girls and great clientele, and had Bucharest by the balls. But then he fell off the bandwagon and is now living under a bridge.
And now he's in Charlie Countryman.
Now he's in Charlie Countryman.
Do you just Google biggest pimp in Bucharest? I mean, how do you find these people?
He's a bit of a he would turn up.
He just finds you.
He's the naked cowboy of Bucharest.
He basically turned up everywhere we went, and we became, really good friends. He speaks really good English because obviously his clients have taught him English over the years. But also, most nights you would see Shia and him sitting on the street talking about life. It was really beautiful. So on the internet you can find some shots of Shia, Marcel, and the dog chatting.
Well, I think we do have one clip that shows a little bit of the flavor of Bucharest, and particularly the underground of Bucharest. And I'll be curious to ask you if the couple that we see at the end are in fact locals.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
So if we can show that second clip here. Those are not faces that you see in central casting in Hollywood, I imagine.
No, you're right.
So there's a sort of sweetness to this, and I wonder how you approached. There's also some rather graphic love scenes as well, and I wonder how you approached those scenes as well.
Well, I mean, I think that's what I loved about the movie, is that it's so seamlessly kind of flows into action, into romance, and a comedy. It's all pretty flawless. Funny. I mean, the sex scenes were actually raunchier than they ended up being, but the MPAA has a problem watching a woman receive oral pleasure. It makes people uncomfortable. But 3 people getting their heads blown off, totally fine. Absolutely no problem. But a little fun fact. But no, the love scenes were approached, we wanted them to be love scenes, not just sex scenes. These are 2 people that have a very strong connection, and we wanted it to really mean something and not just be gratuitous. And I felt good filming them. Shia was a total professional and felt very safe and very comfortable.
So there were limits to the method approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there has to be a line, but everything was talked about, beforehand and laid out, and then you just kind of go for it, you kind of see what happens. And that's pretty much what we did.
And now talk a little bit about your influences here, because I can even see from these clips, there's a little bit of Danny Boyle going on, there's a little bit of Tarantino. What sort of influenced you in terms of the style and approach to this?
Well, the approach was sort of because the movie lives in this sort of twilight between reality and what he's experiencing physically and what he's experiencing a little bit in his head, So it was always a little bit of, for me, was the biggest challenge was to find the balance between realism and fantasy, And when it became too much of a fever dream versus, but I wanted it to feel a little bit like almost anything is possible. And I'm from the point of view that, just because it happens in your head doesn't make it less real. I think, you react emotionally to things that might be unexplainable and not be touchy-feely. So that was sort of something that definitely guided me. So then, the story is a coming-of-age sort of graduate story, if you want. He's lost and he's trying to find his gripping. So all these things kind of informs you how to shoot the movie. At least for me, what is important with, how much do we push the fantasy element? How much do we move the camera, etc. But without giving away too much, I mean there is the movements of the camera is there is an opening with a dying mother, and there is a sort of guidance from her, if you want, that then pays off at the end. So the camera is sort of also a little bit of the point of view of that overlooker, that guidance from the mom.
Terrific. I think we're going to open it up to questions from all of you.
Hi, Evan. First of all, my name is actually Evan, believe it or not.
Hi, Evan.
Okay, for whatever works across the universe, The Wrestler and Ides of March, what were Woody Allen, Jim Sturgis, Mickey Rourke, and George Clooney like from your point of view? And how would you compare them to Shia LaBeouf?
It's the greatest question of all time. Because it's so loaded with so many answers. I don't even remember all the things that Jim Sturgis is one of my favorite people in the world. Mickey Rourke is a trip. He's a brilliant actor. Who else? Clooney? He's exactly what you would expect. He's the most charming man in the world. Nicest guy ever. Completely talented. Oh, Woody. Oh, Woody. Well, it was an honor to work with Woody. It's...
If you can do a Romanian accent, can you do a Woody?
I can't.
I'm going to really put her on the spot.
I can't. Don't make me do that. No, I really can't, though. I would. He was great. Sometimes you don't you don't get a lot of direction from him. I think he likes you to be as natural as possible, so he doesn't like to interfere at all, and that sometimes is very stressful as an actor. But he was wonderful. How do they compare to Shia? Was that the question? They don't. I mean, they're just totally different. There is no comparison. They're all the most different people, huh? Yeah, completely different.
Hi, this is for Mr. Bond, the director. I come from a music performing and composing background, and I wanted to ask you, what was when you're giving direction for your film scoring crew and the people providing music for the story, how do you do that? Are you asking for texture? Do you ask for recurring themes? Do you ask for a mood? What's your direction when it comes to underscoring your film?
Underscoring? You meaning the score?
The score. Yeah, the actual score.
Well, we wanted to find a musical landscape that was set apart from Gabby's world, which was the classical cello and everything. So, and also, Shia listens a lot to his iPad. He always had iPod. Always having.
We're in the Apple Store. Get it right.
Yeah, exactly. So you always have this music in his earbuds, but I never like when you know exactly what he's listening to. So I wanted to find a score that could potentially be what he's listening to, but also give a bit of the sentiment for the scene, and help us to guide the emotional sense of the scene. So does that answer your question, or?
Well, you can say a little bit about who's on the soundtrack. It's a very impressive soundtrack.
We had amazing musicians. Moby had read the script, and I had worked with him on 2 music videos, and he really wanted to help me score the music. So he, very early on, when we still were in working on and tweaking the script, he started to give us little flavors, because I wanted it to be too. I wanted the visual side of the story to run together a little bit with the music landscape and music universe. So I was very happy that he wanted to do that. And then we in the process, as we started to really dig deeper into the musical landscape, we took in a few more musicians like Dead Mono and Christoph Beck, and a DJ woman called Audrey Napoleon. Amazing musicians, all of them. That sort of gave a little tonal shifts, just to give, because the story is so vivid and dynamic. I needed a little. We needed a little bit more of a sort of a variation in the tracks, So yeah, that was largely it.
How you doing, Evan? How did it feel for Across the Universe? How did it feel to play out and be part of some of the greatest songs of Beatles?
It was. I never wanted a part more than that one. I went after it the second I heard they were doing it, because I always wanted to do a musical, and obviously was the biggest Beatles fan and Julie Taymor fan, and I went after it so hard. I went into the audition and I was literally sweating singing for Julie Taymor. I was so nervous. So I was incredibly excited but very nervous. But luckily, I was happy that the whole movie was being made by hardcore Beatles fans, because we didn't want it to be High School Musical Beatles movie. We wanted it. We didn't. Not like there's anything wrong with that. If you're into it, that's fine. But we wanted something that really spoke to that time, and was a real homage to the band. And I thought they did an amazing job recreating the songs and doing the covers. And it's still just one of my favorite project I've ever worked on, hands down. Yeah.
Apart from this,
apart from this, you
we
know,
just want to make sure you guys know.
That movie
in the
was-
musical category.
Yeah.
That movie was shot down right down the block from where I live.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
some
yeah. We shot all of
the
it in
buildings
New
are
York.
Still like that.
Yeah, they painted a lot of the buildings in where it was
Right on Rivington and Clinton.
Rivington. Yes, thank you. And the buildings are still painted the way that we left them. I love that.
And you almost did Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
No, I did. Well, because Julie is a very good friend of mine, and I think she really is a genius. And I did the workshop for it, and I thought there was some really great stuff in there. I thought the music was good. It just didn't work out, and my heart really goes out to them because it's very unfortunate. I think it was just a series of unfortunate events attached to that. So.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about your impressions of Romania? Where you, what did you try to go see if you had a moment to see anything, and maybe where you ate, or give us a little travel log.
Sorry. Okay, we the Lebanese was the place we went to every night. Ate Lebanese food. It was incredible, amazing, and so they became like our household caterers. And then we had like an Italian restaurant in the bottom of our
hotel.
restaurant, which were actually a really amazing Romanian cross fusion place. Yeah, it was incredible too. Then we had the old bistro, which was around the corner from the hotel, called I think it was called Café de Paris or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
but actually was only serving Romanian food. And
I used to go to this club called Goblin. That was my favorite. Did you ever go there?
No, I didn't.
It was right across from the kebab stand that's in the movie.
Oh, okay,
It's the one where when you walk in, you have to go under like a woman's legs, like under her skirt. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like
We
the
scouted
awning,
that
the
place.
awning was literally
Yeah,
a woman's
yeah.
legs, and then her skirt was the awning. Yeah, that place was awesome.
And then there was a jazz club across the street where we actually found these musicians. A few blocks away actually, but nevertheless, which was I can't remember the name, but Adrian and his gang, the cello guys, used to play there, so they also became like close buddies of ours, and they actually wrote a whole soundtrack. You know, they so loved the project that they in their spare time, they knew that we were going to do this, but they kind of in their spare time wrote almost the entire soundtrack to the movie. It was, yeah, that was the kind of.
Did you go to Transylvania? Did you go to Dracula's castle?
No.
I did.
You did?
Yeah. That was pretty awesome.
And just back to the music question back there, you know, emotionally, it was very much, you know, trying to find a landscape for Charlie's sort of outlandishness, you know, have a little bit of a sort of, you know, a little bit of an, you know, different. I didn't want to necessarily have, you know, pop tracks or pop music through the entire movie, but I thought there was a specific moments where I really needed it because that was connecting to also what he was hearing in his earbuds. So the other music, I really felt like it shouldn't be anything we recognized or had heard before, just to put us out in a more outlandish world for him. Sorry, I just.
Thank you guys for showing up. As someone who's producing his first short film, post-grad, I was curious to find out what was the biggest challenge in getting it off the ground since it was blacklisted. What was the biggest thing or the toughest thing you had to face, whether studio, financial, casting, whatever it was?
Well, I think it's always tricky to get the money. You know, it's always somebody who writes the check, you know, and we can be super passionate about stuff, but I think that...
And sometimes you can have the most amazing actors attached to something, and it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
They give you a list. They're like, if Tom Cruise and Will Smith are in your movie, then here you go, you know?
Yeah. No, but I think I want to say, I mean, you have more experience than I have on this, but I feel like every project is extremely, for everybody.
If a movie gets made, it's a miracle. Every movie that you see is a little miracle.
Yeah.
You should know that.
And every movie has a group of extremely hardworking people that's worked around the clock to get it made. Even on the top tier of filmmakers, I think it's sort of the same thing, actually.
Well, Fredrik Bond, Evan Rachel Wood, Charlie Countryman opens this Friday and is on VOD, also available this Friday. I'm Tom Geyer from Entertainment Weekly. Thank you again for coming to the Apple Store.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.